Now that we've got our roof on, it is time to start putting some of those finishing touches. As you can see, I've cut out one window area. I've got another one to cut. All I did was use an old piece of wood. It had a straight edge. I drilled from the inside some pilot holes in the corners and along the edge of my window opening, so I can then draw a line so that I can cut it from the outside. And I'm using my little turkey saw here. So I'm gonna get those cut out, put some flashing tape on, install those windows, and I'd like to grab the new tool we got and do a little unboxing for you and see if we can't use that tool today. That's turkey saw for the win. This thing's actually quite nice. I've enjoyed using it on this project. If you don't have one, get one. I already had a piece of this flashing tape cut, so I'm going to go ahead and use it here. I'm also going to put some of the stretch tape in the corners, but I've seen some people put this flashing tape on just in the center and then run the stretch tape just in the corners. I think that would work just fine. Really what you're doing is trying to prevent water from coming down the window on the outside and seeping into your walls or your windowsills here at the corners. So that stretch tape really just seals these crevices really well. Thank you, Mayor. This is my helper. This is stretch tape. This stuff is really awesome for sealing off your windowsill corners. Just gotta get the corners put in. You just take the excess on the outside and stretch it around that corner. As you can see here in the corners, on that lower edge, there's no penetrations at all. I just have to roll it with that zip roller and it'll be stuck there forever. To install these two vinyl windows into these two spots, I'm going to use some 1.5" roofing nails. And all I do is nail into each one of those little slots along the flange of the window. This particular window has J-channel built in so that when I install my vinyl siding on this building, I don't have to run J-channel on the outside of the window. It is already built in. And typically, to install these windows, I would run a bead of big stretch or some silicone along the sides and upper portion of the window opening. But because this is a shed and I am going to go ahead and flash it with zip tape on the outside, I believe that I don't need to go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna leave the silicone / big stretch out of it this time. I'm just gonna install these and then flash it with some zip, and it should be good. It's kind of an experiment because it's just a shed and I don't have to worry about it. I can actually see what's happening on the inside over time. It'll be kind of nice to know whether or not you really need to have that silicone if you're using flashing tape from the zip. We'll see over time. Alright, we've got two beautifully installed and flashed windows. Let's go inside and take a peek. Those look wonderful. Well, let me organize a little bit of stuff and I'm going to pull out the new tool. We're going to do a little unboxing. I get to open my new toy. It is the Mark I metal brake. I'm going to unbox it for you guys, and I've never owned one. I've been wanting one for a long time, so I'm super excited. So I'm going to set the camera up and I'll start unboxing it, and I'm going to take it to the tool shed and actually set it up inside. That way it has a home of its own. All right, don't mind the mess in the garage. It is a work in progress because we're building that tool shed. I had to store a bunch of stuff in here. It looks like a mess right now, but here. Take the handles with me over to the shed, put them away, and I'll wait until my son gets back, and I'll have him help me carry this thing over to the shed. I'm going to use this spot along this wall here to set up some kind of a stand for the metal brake, so it'll go just about midway on both windows, and I'll be able to have plenty of space to walk through the tool shed and actually work with the metal brake and get to the rest of my tools without having to climb over anything or move stuff in the process. I just took some measurements on this metal brake from the back to where the front sits. We're about 18 inches, and we're 10 foot 6 inches from the furthest length that way all the way to the end. So now I know exactly what I need my bench to measure out so that it has a nice permanent spot to sit. So I'm gonna go ahead and go build that and put that in place so that when I have my son here to help me move it, we will go ahead and move it and put it right in place and not have to move it again. This is the theme of everything I do.
I like it. More importantly, what do you think, Money Man?
I'm really thrilled. I'm gonna measure off each side and probably drill some holes and actually attach it to those legs. That way it can't go anywhere.
Cool.
So next step is we gotta put our handles on, and I think it's ready to go. The bottom handle appears to be a pretty easy setup. It already comes with these locking nut, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, the mechanism that'll just lift up this part here. You can see that profile, it just goes into this. You tighten it down. I've got both handles on, but it appears that I'm missing one of these bolts that go all the way through that has a nut. That nut that was in the box. So I'm missing this one right here. So I'm gonna go check the box and see if I can't find it. If not, I can always go to the hardware store. Also, putting these legs up, it appears as though I need to go ahead and extend all this out just a little bit more because it needs to be a little bit further away from the wall in order for this locking handle to function all the way. It's got to get pushed back to lock. So I should have went ahead and made a 2-foot bench instead of an 18-inch leg. So we're gonna go ahead and extend these out another 6 inches or so, and it'll be ready to go. Look at that. First thing I see. There we go. That's it for now. I'm gonna go eat some lunch, and then we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna screw this thing down on both sides. That way it just can't go anywhere. And I may just go ahead and throw some blocks in and come over rather than putting holes through the aluminum. Put this back. It's really tight at first, and it says that it will be in the box on the instructions, and that will loosen up over time. But when you lock this part down by pushing that handle back, it's really hard to get back open without putting your hand on the back end here. So if I throw some blocking holding that back end down, not only will it help hold it in place, but it'll also make my life easier when I'm using the locking handle and the bending handle. So as you can see, I've got my block attached to the side here, one on the top, and it's not super tight on here, but it's tight enough that when I push this all the way back and then go back to lift, it holds it in place and it doesn't pull it forward. But I can still move it out and pick it up if I needed to. So the first thing I'm gonna do with the metal brake is I'm gonna make some flashing for all these exposed edges. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come to this side so you can see the profile, but I'm gonna come down the 2x4 over to the wall. Well, come down the 2x4, put a little drip edge, go over 1.5 inches, and then down the wall just a little bit. I'm gonna do that on the gable ends, and then on the eaves, I'm gonna go down the outside and forward towards the building, and I might go ahead and take it on up and cover all that exposed rafters. I'm gonna start off by rolling out some of my coil, and I got a couple clamps so that this does not get away from me once I get going here. I'm gonna first go measure my rafters, because I don't really remember how long I need to be. I don't need to cut 10 feet if I don't need to use 10 feet. The measurement, go 83 inches. All right, so I've drawn it out. This is the profile. On the outside, I want 3 inches going up. I don't want to run into any issues bumping the top of the metal that's already there, so I just need to go underneath it. Right here would be my gable trim, going up over my gable. So I'm gonna go down 3 inches, and then I'm gonna go an extra quarter and wrap around and do a little hem for a drip edge. So that's a full quarter there and a quarter on that side. That's a whole 1/2 inch. Going 1/2 inch and a half in for the width of the 2x4, and I'm gonna go about 2 inches down the wall. So a total of 2, 3 and a half plus a half. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7 inches is what I need for this particular trim that I'm going to make. Now this is my first time ever using a metal brake, so I couldn't really figure out how to do my little hemmed drip edge and make it all function, so I had to do away with the drip edge portion. So I went 3 inches down, 1.5 inches back, bent it a little bit more than 90 so that this will kind of act as a drip edge. So as things run, as the water runs down, it won't run backwards. It'll just keep dripping down. And then this will go down the wall, just like that. getting up here on this gable. We've got one coming down my profile up underneath this gable trim. The other one going down the other direction, meeting in the middle. Got one up here bent underneath the other one and one cut off. That way it looks like it's a really nice tight fit. Down at the bottom on each side, we're gonna have to do some trimming up and folding over, but I'm not gonna do anything with it until I get the eave portion done so that I can bend it and figure out exactly what I wanna do. But for now, this is just pressure fit up here, and I think I'll leave it and continue on.